checked it. Watch that. These are really cool deals here to throw on the wheel. You know, to move around up here, but boy, you'll pinch your fingers if you're not careful. Anyway, we're gonna check the points adjustment on this old Y block. Run through the valve adjustments on it. I don't remember this stuff by heart anymore. You know, we used to work on this stuff, you know, 40 years ago, more than that. So I looked it up on the internet, and it looked like on the exhaust side 10 thousandths, intake side 8 thousandths, which sounds about right. So let me get something over here to stand on. We'll get the hood up on this old girl and see how much we can get done today, because we got other stuff we got to get done this afternoon. So we got a lot of work to do today. Let's get busy. This is always what happens. You see that hood latch up there? I've been screwing around with that for the last month and haven't had time to really look into it. But I knew something was getting funky with it. Perfect. Well, that was really good. I'm glad that I did that. Let's retrieve our light down here in the hole now. Let's see how we've... Okay, now that we haven't... Fortunately, we didn't destroy it. But anyways, see how that moves? I think that piece is supposed to be behind this piece. If you don't unlatch the latch, then... Okay, probably end up doing professional adjustments, which means a big pry bar. Yeah, see this thing? Yeah, that's what's causing that. All that's going to do is move a little bit, and it won't get in behind that. It'll pop out. It almost seems like something else is missing here, but it's hard to say exactly what that is. Probably not going to make it. Let's put the shorter bar in there then. I think that's supposed to. See, I can't get in. Somebody out there has done this before, and they're laughing about it right now, going, no, don't do that, don't do that. That's not going to work. It sure seemed like it would at the time. Something happened. We either broke something. No, we didn't break anything. We just didn't get it. That one piece just doesn't want to go over, back over. No worky. There it went. See that? Yeah. Let me zoomy here. Yeah, see right there? If it'll stay in focus. This right here, this tab, had to be back behind this piece. See that? It's supposed to push that and release the hood. That works the way it's supposed to. But this is pretty freaking... Ooh, that's pretty loosey-loosey. Okay, my tools weren't where I thought they were. They were where they were supposed to be. Who does that? Who puts tools away where they're supposed to be? There's something here that... Oh, okay. This back here is broken on the back side, and that needs to be spot welded back on. Ah, yeah. I can see that now, said the blind man to the deaf dog as they picked up their hammer and saw. Yeah, that's going to require some more investigation. But, oh yeah, see that? If that was welded on the back side there, that would fix that whole thing. Okay, there's a piece that's broken in the back here. Let me put my tools back where they're supposed to be. Wow, what a concept that is. Holy rip. See that move around back there? That is supposed to be hooked to this piece right here, and that keeps it, if I move that just right, let me move back so you can see it better. If I move that just right, see how that tightens that up? So that is broken in the back there. I think it's supposed to be pivoted. I think it's supposed to be pivoted. Oh yeah, see that? Right there is where it's supposed to be. We'll just zip weld that on there. That'll be an easy one. It's actually out there where you can get to it. Imagine that. Holy. These 4 distributors on these wide block, just like the letter Y, are clear in the back and at an angle. Oh, it's wonderful fun to do these. I will try to figure out how to get you guys back in there so you can see what I'm doing. I probably don't have the right screwdriver for this, but we're going to do it anyway. Whether it's right or it's not right, but we got to get the cap off. Let's just take the coil wire off, get it out of the way. It's not going to be any fun that way because, you know, we won't have any accidental starting and running over stuff in the shop. I mean, the excitement's all over for now, but there's 2 clips we're after. I'll get the back one because there's no way to get a photograph of that one, I don't think. There, I got it popped off, okay? And it always falls down underneath the distributor, and if you got big hands, you can't get a hold of them. But the clip I'm talking about is this one right here, okay? And if you see, well, you can't see, but because that line's in the way, that's a little bit better, kind of, but not really. But you see that the way that flips up right there? You want to go in behind that and just pop that clip out of the way. See, then that one falls under the distributor and you can't get a hold of it either. And of course, all the plug wires are way too short to get it pulled up and out of the way. So, you know, that makes it a lot of fun. Oh, there, that zoomy again, right? They call them breaker points. That's why later on they called them breakerless ignition systems, because they didn't have these in there. What I need to do is get this up on high cam. This round device, what looks sort of round right here, is not round. It's got high points on it. Not much, because it doesn't open very much. There's 2 screws. We loosen the back one like that. Don't loosen them all the way because you lose the whole adjustment. I thought there was 2 screws. I know there's 2 screws. Okay, there's the other one clear in the back there. I didn't think I had the right screwdriver for this, but I think I do. Then you loosen the other one just enough to where you can move. These are the books I learned from. Motors manuals. Our families used them for years. Anyway, this is a top view of that distributor that I'm working on, or something similar to it. As this shaft, which your rotor is hooked on like this, going around pointing at which cylinder to send the fire to, this rotor is turning around, and that's hooked to your camshaft. You need to look, if you're working with these systems or any engine, you should probably look this up, how the camshaft worked, the crankshaft worked. You know, the old man started me off on this stuff when I was like 7 or 8 years old, started giving me pictures and books and stuff to read. As this goes around, you got a flat spot where it's as low, and then as it travels up this ramp right here, right, then it pushes on this striker, which is hooked to this arm right here. So as your high point comes around, it pushes up on that striker, right? This is an overhead view, and it's pushing up on that because this is a pivot point right here. This is spring material, metallic material here. One is copper, one is like a stainless steel, and that creates a spring, so this thing will actuate back and forth, and this striker here, what I call a striker, or cam ride if you will ride along here and stay. You got to remember, this thing's turning really fast, and so it's got to push down on this arm to stay with the program. I mean, it's going up and down, you know, every time a cylinder fires. You know, it's incredibly fast. These are the point contacts that we're talking about. This one's stationary, this one moves. This one's on that arm, on this pivot point right here. It's doing this, right? Which opens and closes this gap right here. See this gap between the 2 points? That's what we're trying to adjust. 18 to 20 thousandths is, you know, about normal on this particular system. But anyway, there's a couple different pictures. You can stop, you can take a screenshot or whatever you need to do. There's what I was talking about, the metallic. This is the copper one, and that keeps the connection all the time. Make sure the electricity is traveling. And then this is generally a stainless steel strap, and that's your spring to keep this thing. This is one half of it. There's your striker, there's your contact point. This is the movable half of that system that we're adjusting and what we're looking at. This is the other half of it right here. So anyway, my particular distributor in this Y blocks got a couple of screws in it that you loosen up. I don't see an exact picture of it right here, but this is a little bit different style right here. There's a screw there. There's another one on mine over here, and you loosen those two screws, and then there's a notch up here that you put the screwdriver in, and you move it back and forth like that, and that moves the stationary point, not the movable arm. The movable arm is sitting on the high point of the cam. You want that when you're adjusting points, you want that striker on the movable arm to be up right here on this high point, because that's the farthest it's going to open and push it open, right? To open these contact points. Okay, that's about as best as I can describe it right now. So when we're adjusting these points, we got a feeler gauge set. You know, it's got all these different thicknesses of bimetals in there. Each one of them, I don't think there's any way that you can see it anymore, has some numbers on it. This set's so old. Right there is some numbers. It says 18 thousandths. So what I do is I take my Starrett calipers and I verify that 18 thousandths. That way I know I've selected, you know, my eyesight ain't the greatest anymore. I've selected the correct feeler gauge. These are called feeler gauges. So where you're wanting to put this feeler gauge, of course, is in between the two contact points. Top of the distributor shaft, you're looking down on it, your set of points in here, you're wanting to take this feeler gauge right in between those 2 points and use that to measure the gap. If it's too loose, you'll feel this thing wobble back and forth. Let's say that gap is 35 thousandths. It's way too wide, right? You'll put that in there and it'll wobble around. you'll be able to feel it wobble around in between the two contact points. It'll clunk, clunk, clunk back and forth. So what you do then, we'll just pretend these are our points, is you close that gap on the feeler gauge until you can feel it just kind of snug up, and you can just barely slide that feeler gauge in between the 2 points, which is here, right? You'll be able to feel it starting to drag just a little bit, just as this point, this stationary one, starts to drag. If you go too far and start pushing against this spring-loaded deal, your gap isn't going to be right. So don't get too aggressive with it. Just kind of ease into it, and you'll feel it. You can move this feeler gauge back and forth until you feel the gap starting to close, and then you can stop and move back and forth like this, kind of just checking that gap to see if it's right or not. That's it. Rotor inside the cap. Set the cap and the rotor on at the same time, which you got to do it one-handed because it's almost impossible to lift that cap over that, in this pickup anyway, over the top of that rotor. You know, there it went. See the rotor? Well, you can't see it, and I can't either. I'm doing it all by hand, by feel. Anyway, see the blue rotor down there? It's all the way on the shaft now. Now we just kind of manipulate that around, and there's a notch where this screw right here fits into the cap right there, and you know you got it lined up. Now, while you're down here fishing around, fish that clip back up behind there. It always falls down, and there it went. We got lucky. Boy, did we get lucky on that. You can fiddle around with that for 5-10 minutes. Now, we haven't got the front one on yet, so don't get all wound up. Oh, you believe that? I don't. Okay. Coil wire. Maybe the coil, oh, that's something that could have happened. That coil wire could have got up against that choke cable. That's possible. Vibrated going down the road. How come that isn't going back on? There it went. Yeah, that could have happened. This choke cable right here could have got down against the coil wire and shorted it out. We can always say that that's what we think happened. This is tight on the coil. Check your wires on your coil. Those are tight. That one's tight. Yeah, I mean, this is like, everything is like brand new on this thing, right? Actually, it's not that bad for as old as it is, you know, and for what it was put together out of. This is not a Namco four-wheel drive. This was a Rec 59 and 60, I believe. I think that's what the old guy told me. And the mechanics got together and took all the good parts from each one and put together one good pickup. And they did a nice job because it looks like that's the way it was supposed to be. And in a way, that is the way it was supposed to be, but it didn't come out of the factory like this. I guess all the parts came out of a factory like this, but they weren't all joined together. Anyway, there's our points adjustments. We got a little sealant on that wire. We'll try that out. We could, those valve covers don't look like they're that bad to get off. We'll try one over on the driver's side and see how it goes. And if it doesn't go too bad, we'll run through all the valve adjustments. Okay? Okay, we just so happen to have a set of gaskets and this particular valve cover. If you look right here, it's two studs on there, and there's a rubber gasket, a rubber grommet That's got to go around those. Make sure when you get these gaskets, they are for a Ford Y block and it has those grommets. Otherwise, you're going to be really irritated. This one's for the old 239, 256, 272, 292, and the 312. This is the 292. That's what I understand anyway. I think I ran the numbers on this thing once and it was the 292. It is not a 312 bot. You know, if this was a T-Bird, a guy would want to check that because it may have the 312 in it. But anyway, there we go. We got those. We throw them up there. And these are 5/8. I already busted them loose. That one isn't. Spin your nuts off. Let's see if... here's our preferred weapon of choice. That is it's not a valve cover removing tool, it's a freaking old, you pull hubcaps off and put them back on with this, right? You know, anyway. But it sure works good for this too, don't it? See that? Try not to drop a bunch of dirt in your engine. That ain't no good. You know, like I just did. Anyway, there's our washers. Boy, then we're going to take some cleaning up. We'll have to look at our new grommets and see if the washers are embedded in the rubber. Boy, that'd sure be nice. Let's look. Well, they're upside down, so you can't tell, but I'll bet. This packaging anymore. Holy crap. Look at that. We locked out. Man, that's nice. We don't have to fiddle around cleaning those washers up or anything. There's a metal washer in the rubber deal. Oh, ain't that wonderful. I remember something about that, but let's take a look here. We're going to have to get a... Oh, don't look that bad. Look at that. Everything's pretty clean in there. Yeah, loose. Okay, that's the intake. So that's this one here, 8 thousandths. Yeah, loose. Okay. It's 1/2 inch. Yeah, these are just a swedge, like a lock nut type of deal. Still needs a little bit. Still needs a little bit. Too loose is better than too tight, boys. So if you get them too tight, you can burn a valve. Okay? Because it'll hold it open a little bit off the seat. Okay? You want to go until you feel just a little bit of drag on your feeler gauge. And that's all there is to it. Here's something I don't like about Schemer Bay. The original gaskets had tabs that went into these little notches right here and held the gasket in place. You know, three points on the sides and 1 point on the ends. Man, pop it on, rock and roll. You're in and out of there. Schemer Bay gaskets, man, not so much. You know, look at that. It falls down, flops around. You know, that's what you get for buying brand X cheapo bleepo. You know, now I know. I guess we're gonna have to use some silicone. I guess to hold that in place. I think you probably know what I'm talking about, but these are not, see, they're starting to crack and get old, and I know for a fact if I try to reuse them, it will start leaking again. But see the nice tabs on that gasket right there? You know, all points has those tabs, and they fit right down in that notch right there. Holds the gasket in place. You pop them in there, and you pop the valve cover back on, and you're done and out of there. Well, here we are now. Man, don't smear this red crap all over frickin' creation. Just because you put more silicone on does not mean that you're doing a better job. Put some dots on there like that, and that way when you go to take this off again and you get some more Schemer Bay freaking gaskets, because you're a cheapskate like I am, it's easier to take the stupid thing off, right? A lot quieter than it used to be. Okay guys, there we go. We got her. She sounds a lot better than it did. We'll go out and run it. We got to go run it a little bit and do another errand, and we'll see. Maybe I better hit that hood latch with the welder. Okay, thanks for watching guys.